after the divorce was finalized, what did you do to get back on your feet? So eating healthily and traveling, did you do all of that?
Yes, that's a very good question. I would say that, we've got these two, or I had this passion of shopping, which was not good. I think at the time it was retail therapy,
Yeah.
but I definitely traveled, and I reignited my faith, and it was amazing. That was a turning point in my walk, in my season of life, sort of reestablishing and reconnecting with my faith, and reconnecting at church, and exercising and eating healthy and cooking and baking and going out and
Nurturing your
traveling.
soul.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was, self-care, that term is used quite often, and it can be a negative thing, but I think there's definitely a spot where we can say, no, that's a healthy thing to nurture our soul and take care of ourselves so that we can be better equipped either to take care of our the relationships that are in our path, and then also be ready for the next relationship, and to learn from, because there are no perfect relationships out there, and there's no two parties that are perfect. So I use the opportunity, Sarah May, to learn about my mistakes, because there were many, and there were things that I had to learn from, which I didn't know, but I learned from it in a place of in a healthy place, not
Yeah.
someone saying, not someone telling, but saying, okay, these are the things that I didn't like about myself in that relationship. And so what am I going to do to bring about healthy change? So
Yeah.
reading books and listening to, podcasts and different things, and watching YouTube videos, and just really feeding my brain, feeding my soul, and learning and growing in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. I think being circumspect and kind of reviewing how you made decisions and what you did and
Mm-hmm.
how to do it in more functional ways in the
Mm-hmm.
future. I think that's a great.
Mm-hmm.
So what would your piece of advice be to people who are going to get married or
Mm-hmm.
people who are already married? What's some marriage advice that you could give having walked through this journey?
Okay, so this is one of those things that I'll just kind of go back a little bit. I remember someone telling me, you're divorced, you don't know anything about marriage. And so when you're divorced, a lot of people might think, well, you're divorced, you know nothing about marriage, your marriage didn't even work out. But I'm going to say that when you have been married, you are able to see it from a different perspective. You're able to see it from a place of, dare I say, brokenness, and then look at it from the outside in and say, these are the things that I know go on in a marriage that will probably hinder or sort of contribute to the breakdown of a marriage. And so if I can recognize those things from the outside in, I can help the next person say, this is what happened in my relationship, and not every relationship and marriage is the same, but here's some things that you could do to sort of stop it from getting to the point of where it's uncontrollable, or these are some places where you can go to seek help, and this is what you can do to I would say, for my piece of marriage advice, so I'm happy that you're asking me this, because not everyone wants to go to or seek marriage advice from a divorced person, and I will say that those are some of the people that you might want to ask, because they have been through it and
Yeah.
they can see it from a different perspective. Marriage is a partnership. It is a partnership, and it involves sacrifice, and it involves teamwork, and it involves give and take, and it involves forgiveness. It involves forgiveness because it involves a place of knowing that these are my wants and needs, and these are your wants and needs. So we need to come to an agreement of a compromise. And how are we going to do that? And actually establishing and communicating that right from the get-go, because you're two unique individuals living together in the same house. You have different needs and different wants. How are you going to communicate that? And saying, these are my priorities, these are my top three. How are we going to meet those needs? And then these are your top three. How are we going to meet those needs? And really communication, because I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, Five Love Languages, but
I have.
it is an excellent book because it really talks about how the way people, give and receive love. And so I think marriage, oftentimes we enter into a relationship and we don't understand how a person receives love. And if you can understand how a person receives love, whether it's words of affirmation, receiving gifts, or acts of service, or physical touch, or those types of love languages, I think then the communication is solidifies. So it's a
Mm.
partnership. It involves communication. It involves understanding the other person's love language.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a lot of advice in one
Oh, I love it.
one
It's great. I was just
what
trying to
but
count, like,
I think
that's
that's
great. Yeah. Um, 5
yeah,
love
it's a lot.
languages. We've got words of affirmation. We've
Hmm.
got gifts,
Yeah, receiving gifts,
receiving gifts,
acts of
and
service,
acts of service,
physical touch, and
physical
quality time.
and quality time. Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
I'll put the book link in the show description notes. But that's a great book. I think it's really
Hmm.
good because it's becoming self-aware about other people's what fills other people's love tanks up and
Yes.
what fills
Hmm.
your love tank up.
Hmm.
So that's great
Hmm.
advice, Maneesha. Being setting out expectations and forgiveness. I love what you shared about
Hmm.
forgiveness because
Hmm.
nobody is perfect.
Hmm.
And I mean, for me, like when being a woman of faith, having God in the center of a marriage, that's so
Hmm.
important.
Yes.
Having surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who can support you and give you wisdom.
Hmm.
I always say, draw from the wisdom of someone in a journey ahead of you, in a season ahead of you,
Hmm.
and a season
Yes.
before you, so that you can
Wow.
feed someone in the season before you, and then feed from a season, a couple in a season ahead of you. So I
That's so
think
good.
that's so good what you shared about, marriage advice and walking in
Hmm.
forgiveness. Walking in
Yes.
forgiveness, that's a key.
Yes.